today? November 2nd. And we're going to talk about imaginary numbers. So, first of all, we have to know this, that when we have the square root of a negative 1, we're going to write I, okay? Whenever you see the square root of negative 1, we're going to write I. But here's the crazy part. When you square this, when you square root the negative 1, you get back to a regular number. If you go to I squared is negative 1. So I squared is negative 1. These two things are going to be really important when we talk about our notes today, okay? So when you see the square root, just the regular square root of negative 1, it's I. Just write I, okay? And when you see I squared, make I squared into negative 1. So we go from an imaginary number, we square an imaginary number, and we go back to a real number, okay? And that's really important in today's lesson, okay? If you've got those two things down in your brain, today's lesson's easy, okay? So, now, scoot the page over a little bit. So imaginary numbers, okay? So imaginary numbers are square root of negative 1 is I, okay? But a complex number has got a real plus an imaginary. When it's all messed up, it's real and imaginary. It's complex, right? Like some of the kids around here, right? So an example of that would be, say, 2 plus a 3i. That's a complex number. The 2 is the real. It's a real number. It's just the number 2. Plus 3 times I, and that's my imaginary. So when you put a real with an imaginary, we'll call that just a complex number. So the imaginary unit is just I, but any imaginary number could be 4i, which 4i really could be rewritten or as the square root of negative 16 would be 4i, because we can write that as the square root of 16 times the square root of negative 1, which puts me right back to 4i. So when we see a square root inside, the square root, we're going to recognize that we're going to have an imaginary number. Yeah, Aiden.
When we write the I, do we need to make it like curl up like that? Or?
No, it's just, yeah. In fact, every now and then you'll see different books put the I in front, but the I should always be in the back. It's just a small letter. I mean, if you do, a small letter I. If you want to put it like that, you can.
Okay.
I put it with a curl, just because I've always seen it that way, all right? Okay, so let's flip the page a step further, and let's go to page 138 and do some of these, because these aren't too bad. I honestly think you guys are going to find today's lesson pretty easy, okay? So,
7i.
It is going to be 7i. Man is totally right. 7i is correct. Everybody agree with 7i?
Yes.
Do you need me to show you how?
No.
Okay, good. 2?
2i.
2i. Yep, pretty easy, okay? Now 3, we're going to have to break it down like we've been doing, okay? So what times what makes 45?
9i.
Right, so it's square root of 9, square root of 5, square root of negative 1. All right? Square root of 9, square root of 5, square root of negative 1, because that takes care of the negative right there, right? So then the square root of 9 is 3.
Yeah.
We don't know the square root of 5. It's an ugly decimal, 2.24, blah, 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 blah. So we'll leave it as the square root of 5, and then we'll write I. I like it this way. I like the I at the very back. Square root, right? I like it this way. The book is going to write it like this. It does not matter. I personally like I at the end. The book likes I right here before the root. Same thing. You guys agree? Same thing, whether the I is here or the I is here. I personally like it at the back, okay? Because I think the I has to be at the end, okay? Now, how about 4? So we get a negative 2 times what?
25 and 50. 25 and 5. 2.
Just plain old 10. Plain old 10. Right? 10 times 10? Right? 10 times 10? 10i?
Do 50 and 2.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. You can do it 50 and 2, yes. Then you have to break down 50 into 25. And anyway, what do you got? A negative 20i, okay? How about 5? You're way ahead of me. I like that. 6 times 11i, right? You okay with 11i? We can. You can, Annie. Let me do it a different way, okay? 6 square root of 121, square root of negative 1, right? That's fine. Absolutely fine. And there's your I, and there's your 11, right? Good call. Good call. So then I get a 66i, right?
Yes.
Now, number 6, we're going to do some breaking down, right? So let's do some breaking down. Yep, 5 square root of 25, square root of 3, and Annie will put the negative 1 in here, right? That makes it easier to see it, right? So, we're going to have a 5 times a 5 square root of 3
25, 3i.
I. Yep. So we get 25 square root of 3 I. And again, the book will like the I here. I don't care. I personally like it in the back at the very end, okay? And there's a reason I like to have that is because they'll describe it. In fact, look here, even in the notes, they describe it as the I in the back, don't they? They describe it as the I in the back, and then occasionally they don't put it in the back. I'm like, really? You're breaking your own rule. Okay, number 10 looks hard, but it's not. 10's not hard because you have to write it where you've got, let me slide this up. 7, my bad. 7, thank you. So you've got the real plus the imaginary. So the negative 10x has to go to the 30. They have to because you've got a real number with real number. So you can say, okay, I can do that. Negative 10x equals 30. That's easy. X equals negative 3, right? So I just put the negative 10x with 30. And you'll also put the I equal to the negative yi, right? Okay, and you have to solve for y, so how am I going to do that? Divide by I, divide by I. I divided by I is just 1. Think of it as next, just a 1. I got 1 equals a negative y. That's like a negative 1y. I don't have to write the negative 1, but I can, right? Divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1, so y is equal to negative 1, okay? 8's the same way. We don't need to do 8, but the same way. Your reals, so your 44 would be set equal to your negative 1/4 x, and your negative 1/2 yi would be set equal to the negative 7i. Okay, and you just solve. Do you want me to finish this one up?
Yeah.
Okay, slide it up. So you put your reals with the reals. Real number equals real number. So this one's easy. If I multiply by negative 4, I'd get a negative 176, is that right? 44 times 4. 44 times 4, 44 times 4, negative 176, let it ring. Okay. This one, let's see, let's divide by negative 1/2 I divided by negative 1/2 I. It's going to be a positive 4. Okay, you got to think about how I got positive 4 there. 2. Okay. Oh, 7. I'm wrong. 14. My bad. Yeah. Okay, now, what I really want to show you is the fun stuff. That was pretty easy. You guys agree?
Except for the last two.
Okay, that's right. Let's just solve for x. Okay. All right. Now, i's, these are just like x's, or these are just like square roots. Add the ones that are the same. Just add the ones the same. So I'm going to get a negative 9 plus a 1i. Done. That's it. Add reals with reals. Add i's with i's. Add real numbers with real numbers. Add i's with i's. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right?
Yes.
Okay. 10. Subtract, right? 36 minus 12 is a 24. Now you got to be careful with double negatives. Negative 3 minus 24. Negative 3 minus 24 is a negative 27i.
That's not a double negative.
No, but I had to subtract 20. Did I say it wrong?
Wait.
Oh, I forgot about that.
No, so it's negative 3i minus 24i. So on the side, it's like a negative 3i minus a 24i, right? Little side note.
No, there's a plus.
Yeah, but I'm subtracting it.
Oh.
You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so now 11, same thing, right? 16 plus negative 16 is 0. I don't need the 0, but I'll put it in there anyway. 1i minus 8i is a negative 7i. You don't need the 0. You can put it in there if you want to. We're going to have a double negative coming up here, but that's okay. That doesn't scare me at all, okay? Okay, now, you ready? Negative 5 minus a minus. That's like negative 5 plus 6, isn't it?
1. Sure.
Yes, you can see the double negative, right? Which is 1. I heard 1 in the background. Yep. This is like a negative 5i minus a negative 6i. Double negative, right? Which is like plus, so I get a
I.
positive 1i or just I, yes. You don't need the 1, correct? Okay, now here comes 13 or 14. Here comes the tricky ones, but we can do it. Before I do 13, okay, real quick, make yourself a little note. Make yourself a little note right here. Write this down. I squared equals negative 1. Make yourself that note, okay? Highlight it. I squared equals negative 1. Write that down. Write that down. I squared is negative 1, okay? Because we're going to FOIL. So you ready? Let's start to FOIL. Negative 1 times 15 is a negative 15, right?
Yes.
Negative 1 times a negative I is a positive 1i. 9i and a 15i. What's 9 times 15? I don't know.
45.
Or,
135. Plus 135i. And now,
That's 9I squared.
negative 9i squared is right. Now, real quick, Keisha knows this. Keisha, what's I squared? What's I squared? Mr. Fraker, Todd Fraker. I got rid of him because nobody was doing their homework.
I was doing my homework.
Okay, I shouldn't say nobody. There was some of them that were not doing their homework. I know. Okay, so you ready? Check this. I'm going to go negative 15. I'm going to go plus 136i minus 9 times negative 1. Okay, stop for a second. I added the two i's, right? I added the two i's. But I changed I squared into negative 1. Do you see that? I squared is negative 1, right? So I'm going to have a negative 15 plus 136i plus 9, because negative 9 times negative 1. And now I can combine these real numbers. These are real numbers. Let's put these together and get a negative 6 plus 136i. And
Wait, no, I'll be written in 136.
you know what? It can, but the way we always want to write them is the real plus and that. In fact, did they show that somewhere around here? They don't. But it's supposed to be, Landon, the real first and the imaginary. Yeah, I would never mark it wrong. I would never, ever mark it wrong, okay? But it should be real plus the imaginary, okay? So how about 14? Let's do 14, right? Same thing, okay? So I get a negative 30 plus 48i plus 35i minus 56i squared. Okay? How am I doing? Yeah. Yeah. And so I squared is, say it again, I squared is negative 1. So I'm going to go negative 30. I don't know. See, 48 plus 35. It's Friday. 83 plus 83i minus 56 times negative 1. I'm sure you'll start skipping that step, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm the teacher. I show every little step, don't I?
Yeah.
And that helps you. Negative 30 plus 83i plus 56, right? 26, Josiah? 26 plus 83i. Okay. Now, lastly, super easy, conjugate. Before I do anything, conjugate. Remember that word? Conjugate.
I remember that word.
So what's the conjugate of 16? What's the conjugate?
It's not necessary.
Anybody, what's the conjugate? Anybody remember that?
It's
No?
the opposite thing.
It is, so it's 8 minus I. Boom! That's the conjugate. What's the conjugate of 17?
3 plus 1.
3 plus 2i. Boom. 18, what's the conjugate of 18?
7 plus 5i.
Awesome. Because of, yes.
All we have to do?
That's it. Now we'll do more with the conjugate on Wednesday, right?
You just mean opposite.
Yeah, but the opposite of that sign. Opposite of that sign, opposite. That's all it is.
Okay.
Isn't that easy? Okay, that's all I got for you.